All right, everybody, welcome back to the Purple Friday Show, episode 218. Everybody's back today. Everybody's back. Last 3 weeks, it's
Mhm.
been two of us, and it's just like now all three of us are back, ready for the season to get going.
Mhm.
Um, we'll jump right into it. So the Ravens got their 53, right? Cut down time, especially with the rules now, with like only being three preseason games. They pretty much at this point are is like one big cut down now. They just so we got like updates and stuff of them letting guys go. We knew obviously they would be hit the practice squad. Um, I was happy to see Bo Braid make the team, a Maryland grad. Um, the fact that they're keeping six safeties on this team is that first of all was just a wild number, six safeties,
Mhm.
and but that lets you know how much they like Bo Braid. And I watched an all 22 of him the other day, and the guy was breaking down like his ability to play literally plays like Kyle Hamilton kind of like he plays in the box. He's good against the run. Um, he's not afraid to like go into the crowd, go into the mess, and like he
Mhm.
goes in full speed. What I did notice on film for him was he trusts his eyes a lot. Like he doesn't second guess anything. There were several plays the guy highlighted, and they were like, if he had hesitated even a second or did this, then he gets blocked on the play, and the guy springs off for like a 10-yard gain or something. So him being um, knowing what he needs to go after, like is great attribute to have. And look, with Arthur Millette being down possibly for an entire month of September, and you needed to find somebody else, if you get Trenton Simpson and you got Roquan back in coverage or something in the middle, you still got somebody that can go bust the quarterback. So it's going to be interesting to see how Zach Orr and these coaches use this. It's a very unique group of defensive players they have in that linebacking area and in the secondary, because not like you have your cover guys, but there are a lot of guys that can do they're like Swiss Army knives. They can do a whole bunch of
Mhm.
different things. I was happy to see Rashawn Ali made the team, but that's only because On Wright broke his foot, so he's out for the year. So, but I mean, it's one of those things, right? It doesn't matter how you got on the team; you got on the team. You can't worry
Mhm.
about how you got there. He didn't have the greatest preseason, but he's there. And with how I think the Ravens are going to use Derrick Henry, especially early on in the season, Ali is going to be featured a lot more, or especially early on. And they already said Keaton Mitchell is on the pup, so he's out for the first four games. But they already said they're not expecting him back at least until November at the earliest.
Right.
So he's going to get some time there as well. The Ravens did keep Josh Johnson as their backup quarterback. Again, I mean, if Lamar's not out there, I don't really care who the backup quarterback is. This offense can't really operate without Lamar. That's just, and I think that's the truth to it. And on the wide receiver side, I think they kept Kadir. He's a tight end though. I think they list him as a tight end.
Practice
They
squad.
practice squad. They kept him as a
Mhm.
practice squad player, and
Mhm.
um, I think I think that's the most notable thing I saw from. I'm not even gonna really touch on that preseason three game. That was terrible. Every time I was at a cigar lounge watching the game, they had like a shrimp boil thing. So with my brother and my dad, and every time I looked up, there was a turnover, and it was nothing. It wasn't just by us; it was by the Packers too. It was like the
Yeah.
quarterbacks are just awful. So I was just like, you can't really judge anything like this. I did like. I think Trenton Simpson played in most of that game. He did get a pick in that game, and glad he didn't get hurt. But from what I'm
Mhm.
seeing, for what I saw, the defensive line struggled every game against the run. Every game they struggled against the run. Now, granted, Matty Beakett wasn't out there. Their usual squad wasn't out there. You didn't have Roquan and out there. You didn't have Kyle out there. So we'll take that for a grain of salt. But I will say, I think what I told my dad is the Ravens, especially on defense, defense and offensive line, they are very top heavy. If any of those guys get hurt, they're in trouble. Like there's not a lot of guys I think right now on the defensive side of the ball can replicate, what Matabike does, or replicate maybe what a Jabo could bring you, or what a Kyle Hamilton can. Like Braid is cool, but they showed him in coverage. He struggled in coverage when he was out there. So if any of those top guys on defense get hurt, it could be it could be spooky a little bit. But for all in all, with all the people you got right now on the injury, as Arthur Millette and Keith Mitchell out of preseason, I'll take it.
Yeah, I'm not mad. I'm not really surprised by any of our roster moves this year. This year, for some reason, it feels a little bit more peaceful. I don't have as much concern. Like I said, my concerns we kind of expressed those on our last show, and obviously chats amongst each other. I mean, my biggest concern and remains the offensive line, not necessarily with the pass protection and everything, but the run blocking. And it seems like John Harbaugh has announced what our starting line is going to be. So, obviously we didn't see all the starters out there, but from what we've seen in preseason, it does still give me a little bit of pause, just feeling confident in going into week one against the Chiefs, who, got Chris Jones and all those guys over there on that D line is not going to be a easy matchup whatsoever. So I'm still concerned about that. But like I said, not surprised by any of the roster moves. I think everybody who made the team earned a spot on that roster. You brought up Bo Braid and just his consistency throughout preseason. The fact that they kept six safeties. I'm not surprised at that either. Just based on Ravens history and needing depth in the DB position overall, not necessarily just safety, but cornerback as well. The fact that he kept six safeties, if there's a position that you're going to overload on it, I'm never surprised that it's going to be at the safety position or the cornerback position, even though six does sound like a lot. But like you said, they will be used as like Swiss Army knives, so to speak. I mean, we've seen the film on Bo Braid, and yes, he's a safety, but a lot of his film that pops out is almost at the linebacker position. Like he's playing really, really heavy in run support, and he kind of shoots like a ball out of a cannon almost when he's attacking the ball carrier. So, a lot of confidence in him and what he can probably provide to us week one early on, just coming in and being maybe just, not just a substitute, but even, if they bring him in as like a just additional run support or whatever the case may be, however they're going to plan to use him. I do like his physicality of how he attacks the football when they're coming his way. So a lot of positive things out of him. As far as the D line and not stopping a run, still a major concern. It's kind of hard to judge it because we didn't have all our guys out there, and that's one of those things that's just going to we're going to feel it out for week one and just see kind of how things are going. But it didn't look good from our backups as far as stopping a run. At least they were able to get a little bit of pressure, but as far as the run game, it seems like it's way too leaky, and it remains to be seen how that's going to look with our starters there and how we put certain guys in with on the line with Oway or with Ajabo and with Matabike and things like that. It might not be a big deal at all once we start plugging in certain guys and under different formations or what have you. So it's a weird, very, very weird preseason we had. So it's kind of hard to just kind of say, what it's going to be week one. We're just kind of hoping for the best. But I think we've seen enough flashes at least just to feel still confident moving into this first week, and just hoping that, our guys remain healthy. And that's really all we can really hope for. I mean, we haven't seen Lamar Jackson touch the field yet. So it's kind of hard to really determine anything because we've had rosters on this team that have been subpar, but with Lamar Jackson, it makes us over 10, 11 win team. So still remains to be seen. But as far as the cuts, no real shockers there. I was pleased with the practice squad list. I do think everybody on that practice squad deserves to be there outside of maybe Leary. I don't understand why we're like holding on to this guy. What the confidence level is in him, but Huntley just got cut. Go bring him back, man. I mean, come on back home. Uh, he wasn't the best, but hey, he almost got us a playoff win in Cincinnati. Like, I mean, just based on the fit, if Lamar wasn't there, he probably still is the best case scenario stepping into that role to run the offense the way Lamar runs it. But no knock on Josh Johnson either, because I mean, I think he earned retaining that spot as well. And he's an older guy, but he has experience, so he always going to have that going for him. So yeah, not surprised by the list, and yeah, let's just see who remains on the practice squad list. If somebody gets picked up or snatched away from us, or we see somebody on somebody else's list, I guess we'll see that this week.
Yeah, I was a little shocked by some of the moves, like some of the guys we kept. But I think overall, like with all the injuries, like the Ravens did the best they could with like doing cuts and different things like that. This is the time of year where we do a lot of roster maneuvering based upon injuries, trying to figure out who's going to go to IR, figuring out the whole, who can come back, who can I send here, all that good stuff. But I will say, I'm really excited about like some of the guys that made it, like Bo Braid, of course, yeah, but also our seventh round safety as well, Sanasi Kane. I
Mhm.
think those two guys, those are future impact players for the Ravens. I'm talking in the uh in the Chuck Clark, Geno Stone mode. Those guys are guys that are very unknown, but are going to sneak up and be major contributors for us because they play like Ravens. They play hard. They play tough. So I'm excited to see them contribute. And for them to, Daryl Worley, who's been with this team for 2 years, through playoff runs, for him to lose a spot to these guys says something about them. So I'm really excited about that. Um, speaking to the run game, I know that's a concern, and I don't think stopping the run is going to be a strength of ours. I don't think we're going to be terrible. I think we're better than what we look, but I don't think it's going to be a strength. I think we're a middle of the road run defense, but I think our strength is going to come in our pass defense. Um, but I think there's opportunities for us to be better. Adafe is a big contributor in the run. He's great at setting the edge. I think if Ojabo can be a rotation guy and be able to set the edge in relief of Owe, that would be great. Tavius Robinson is one of the worst defensive ends, rush linebackers at setting the edge. I mean, I think he got picked on like every play he was out there
Mhm.
in the run game. I mean, the guy, he's good at rushing the passer, but he's not somebody we can depend on as a depth guy with setting the edge. Um, Offensively, I'm kind of wondering. I'm kind of questioning Rasheen Ali. Is this like us making sure we keep our picks assigned to us, or DaCosta being scared to release another higher draft pick? Um, I don't know. Like I didn't see enough for him to make this roster. Especially when I saw Collier out there. Collier looked a lot stronger. And especially when you guys on the market like a Dalvin Cook, who eventually went to Dallas, that can come in, who've also been in the system for a little bit and probably can contribute a little bit more. So I don't know. Maybe Ali is going to surprise me. I just haven't seen enough from him. He's kind of just been like a ghost out there. Um, Receiver wise, Deontay Hardy, I was kind of questioning that because I think I told you all he looked very slow out there as a returner, and this slot isn't for wide receiver. This is for returner. And I think when you got our guys like Dayton Wade and Anthony Miller on your practice squad, I think you go back and look at this Deontay Hardy roster spot a little differently because Anthony Miller plays at a high speed. He's in the mode of a Zay Flowers speed wise. And I'm pretty sure he has return experience. And then Dayton Wade has showed us a lot in the preseason to earn some type of spot, even if it's just on special teams to start. So if Deontay Hardy isn't productive early, I think we may be revisiting that spot. But offensive line, I'm pretty cool with where we are. I still feel we need to sign a veteran, but knowing that they want to go with these young guys and that's where our vision is, I think it makes sense. Um, Practice squad, I think you all covered it. I want to see Kadir Ismail get some chances, maybe get bumped up to a roster spot one of these days. I just want to see that kid grow. I'm a fan of his. But before I end this, I just gotta say Devin Leary is the worst quarterback I've ever seen in the NFL game in my life. I've never seen something so pathetic for 3 straight games. Who is this guy? Why did we draft it? Who scouted him? Fire that person. That was the worst quarterback display in that Packers game I've ever seen. He looked like he didn't have confidence. He looked like he didn't know how to read a defense. He tried to thread the needle on a 5-yard pass in between 3 people. You
It
know,
was bad.
luckily somebody did not catch it. But that was the worst quarterback performance. There was nothing about Devin Leary throughout this preseason that made me think he should have been a starting college quarterback, let alone an NFL quarterback. He's awful.
I will say this: there was during that preseason game, they ran on 2 different drives. They ran the same play each time to Kadir. It was like a little curl route over the middle, and Leary threw it twice to the same linebacker both times. I was like, what? I was looking like, what do you do? It's not like he was hiding behind a player. He's standing right there. It's a green jersey on. He threw it right to him, and it was just like, I was like, dude, like, come on, man. Come on. Like Kadir's sitting like he runs his route. The linebacker is literally just sitting there right in front of him. He just stand right there. Leary still throws the football. He's not getting pressured or anything. Just throw the football there. I'm just like, all right, this guy is awful. This is awful. I'm like, at this point, go try to go sign Trace. Trace McSorley got cut. You can bring him back in here. He's better. He's better than Leary at this point, right?
Yeah. I mean, if there's a contest on throwing the fastest football, maybe he'll get some points for that. But being an NFL quarterback, he doesn't have it here or here. Like, he just doesn't. Like, he's god awful.
He's very reckless.
Trace McSorley, bring one of them back.
So we got a question on Instagram real quick. They asked, Julian asked, what's up with Lamar? Is he good, healthy? And how do we feel about not bringing OBJ back this season?
As far as not bringing OBJ back this season, I don't really have any feelings towards it. I think it was the right move last year. I do think we slightly overpaid him, but then again I don't, because I'll also contribute that to kind of helping us in the lure Lamar back into the into the mix with getting the deal done and everything like that. So I think that had a lot to do with it. But they already said he's going to miss the first few games of this season. So it's not that I wouldn't like to still have OBJ, but his availability is the best availability, and he just has not been available to the to the standard that we would need him to be available and to contribute on a consistent basis. We don't have an offense where you can just kind of get a receiver, throw him in 1 week and then you don't play for 4 weeks, come back in. Like, it's been shown, our receiving core needs some type of chemistry, some type of, consistency in our offense in order for guys to succeed. And I just don't think that, bringing OBJ back is going to benefit our receiving core at this point. I think, the fact that we did decide not to go out and get, another veteran, at a certain age, or whatever the case may be, I do rather that, we're going to stick with our younger guys and move forward. Then seems like that's what they're dedicated to. They're not making any blockbuster moves anytime soon. So we're just going to roll what we got. So, I don't think that, adding OBJ was going to, add too much more value to us at this point, just because I just don't have confidence in him finishing a season at this point in his career. As far as what was the other question about Lamar?
Lamar just being healthy, is he good? Good to go? Do you think?
Yeah, I think he's good to go. I think he's antsy. I think he's ready for next week. Health wise, we don't have any indication that it's anything other than that. I mean, as far as him being kept out of the preseason, I think that was probably the right move at this point. I mean, especially with, our O-line at the time, during those preseason games, a little bit questionable. Do we want to put him out there in front of a product that's experimenting? I wouldn't do that. So, yeah, I think he's good to go. He got his little preseason illness out the way a little bit earlier in the preseason, the year in training camp or whatever. So, I think he's good to go, man. I think he's more than ready, and we'll see Thursday. But yeah, I think we'll see, and I think you'll see a lot more energy from Lamar Jackson, dropping all that weight and everything like that. I think we're going to see a different Lamar Jackson this season. He's already got 2 MVPs. He's been, got to the AFC Championship last year, got bounced. Lamar is not going to care about numbers this year. He's not going to care about passing yards. He's going to care about winning games. Not that he didn't before, but it's going to be on another level. He's going to be caring about winning. So whatever that means to get the dub, he's going to do it. So when those opportunities present themselves, open lanes, whatever the case may be, he's going to go. And when the opportunity presents himself to throw it deep, he's going to do that. But I think he's healthy, good, ready to go. And I know he's antsy. I know he's ready.
Yeah, and he's been throwing dots this preseason. We got the chance to see him in training camp. I mean, Lamar's been throwing dots. Like, the arm strength is there still, even with the weight loss. Like, he's been accurate for the most part. Like, he's looked really good this preseason. Of course, that doesn't tell us what's going to happen in the game. I mean, that's a whole different story. But I mean, with Lamar, he's looked really good. I was actually watching his Louisville highlights where he was like at that lesser weight, and it gets you excited that he's probably going to bring some of that. How can I say this without y'all pausing me? Acceleration that he had in his first MVP season. So it's exciting, and he does look healthy. With OBJ, hey man, if you can't be on the field, I can't pay you $18 million. So that's all I got to say about that.
Well, look, speaking of OBJ, I was just looking up. He's on the pup list. He's out for the first 4 games. So they paid him all that money, and he's not going to be available for at least the first 4 games. We don't know what's going to be in the future. Yeah, like Lamar looks on the sideline. We've been seeing it's been him, Isaiah Likely, and Zay Flowers. Like, it's been them 3 hanging out on the sideline. So I'm already like hoping that connection translates onto the field, that maybe when they're drawing up plays in preseason and stuff to try to figure out these sets with Mark Andrews and Likely, that they having, I think it's when we look at so many fans were, upset the Ravens didn't make so many splash moves in the offseason. But we look back from last season, a lot of the little things that they could do to make this team better is just within the own team. Like, when you saw how valuable Likely was when Andrews went down, and it's like beginning of the season, why didn't we utilize their talents together while they were on the field together? I mean, you're spreading the entire defense out because they don't know who to cover. You can't single cover, double cover one or the other, because we've seen if you leave either one open with one guy, like he's gonna catch the ball, and Likely is so fleet-footed with the ball. Like, when he gets, especially in open space, like he's hurling over guys. He runs like a wide receiver, like when he gets the ball in his hands. So it's just like he's just able to do so much. So I think it's a lot of for the Ravens was just utilizing the guys they have in house. We saw what Justice Hill did too. When Keith Mitchell went down, the emergence of Justice Hill in this offense. Now, though a lot of people have a little bit of are pausing a little bit with Justice Hill because they don't want to, I guess, see more of him. But that's kind of the nature of the beast right now. Ali, you're not really sure you want to give him as many as 10 carries in a game. You're going to, at this point, maybe give Derrick Henry maybe 15 to 20 in a game. So if you're going to continue to run the football, you're still going to have to give it Justice Hill. But like we saw, I think, last season, wheel routes, stuff underneath, swing passes, things like that. Considering how this O-line looks when it comes to the run blocking situation, I think you're going to see a lot more simulating the run using the pass versus them running just straight power run, power eye, all that other stuff, until I guess the line gets a little bit, more cohesive together. I think early on, you're going to see a lot more of that simulation run with screen passes and little swing passes and stuff just to get guys in open space, especially with Hill. Hill has he can accelerate really quickly. So it's like, I think getting those guys in open space, Zay Flowers included, you don't necessarily have to throw that man 50-yard bombs every single time. If you can get him a 5-yard run where he's just running a drag route or something underneath, just get him in open space. There's a lot of options for this team. To get going. Before we move on to, I guess, our outlook for the season, we all watched the breakdown of the offensive line during preseason. And from what we saw and what the guy said about this offensive line specifically is they should be really good in pass pro, considering even Linderbaum wasn't out there, Stanley wasn't out there. He said this team is going to be offensive line's going to be really good in pass pro, which I think is going to be good for Lamar. I don't think he's had a really good pass blocking unit ever since he's been in Baltimore as a quarterback. So that's be nice to see. However, what we've been talking about, the run game is going to suffer. a lot. And maybe by the time November, December hits, they kind of get into their mode. We kind of saw this last year too, when guys getting hurt, they're having to rotate Stanley in with Makari and kind of rotating them back and forth. Same thing with Moses and them, just moving guys around, trying to figure things out, blah, 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 all that other stuff. I'm not going to say this is going to become a passing team this season. I'm not going to say that initially. I still think this team is going to be top 5 when it comes to rushing the football. Look, honestly, they might be number 1. No one runs the ball more than the Ravens. I think just by necessity, no one's going to run the ball more than Baltimore is. They're just not. Like even if our numbers do come down a little bit for this season, I still think the Ravens have the best rushing offense in the NFL, just the way the NFL operates now. So I do like the fact that this offensive line will be good in pass pro, which is a good sight to see. I think a lot of the things that we saw with this line, especially for Lele, him being so big, he can't move quickly. He can't move that quick. So if he sees something and he needs to adjust, he's just so big that he can't really adjust himself or move or jump out or do or something like this to just, get in, block inside or block downhill and all that other stuff. So I think what's going to happen is instead of having guys being straight up, if you're running the ball, you're going to see a lot of these zone runs to the outside and stuff like that, just to keep guys, get the offensive line moving in a direction, and maybe can knock guys off while they're in motion instead of just having them stand straight up and trying to create a gap for Derrick Henry to run through.
Yeah, I think we might actually be a little bit better off. It might not be as bad as what we've seen it look as far as the run game, because we still have to account for Lamar Jackson being a quarterback. I mean, with him just being on the field, it kind of gives a D lineman, linebacker pause right there, because if he keeps the ball or whatever the case may be, you just have to account for him. So the fact that it's going to be him and Derrick Henry in the backfield, those are some really hefty decisions that you gotta think about pre-snap. So that may benefit our offensive line by giving them a little bit of a head start on just knowing where they're about to head, whether they're pulling or whatever the case may be. You still got to account for Lamar. So I think it's still we haven't seen all the starters, 1, and 2, when they are out there, the running game might not be as bad as what we think it may be when you're lined up in front of Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. You got to figure out which guy you're going to respect on that play. So, we'll see.
Yeah. I think at the end of the day, we're going to be who we are. I think we're going to run the ball. But I do see us, especially with this line, just an uptick in passes, like maybe taking more shots deep. I think early on, we're going to have to really rely on a quick passing game, quick screens, bubbles, maybe some underneath stuff just to get guys in space, because I think that's where we're successful. And I think that even in the Chiefs game, we saw that when we get our guys in space, they can do things, especially Zay Flowers. So while I see us, still being probably, we're usually like a 60-40 run team. Maybe we're like a 57-43 or 55-45. I see an uptick in passing, but I think who we are, we're a running team. And when you have the best running back in the NFL, in my opinion, you got to use that man. And when you have the best running quarterback of all time, you got to use that man. So I think we pass more, but we're still a running team.
Mm-hmm.
All right, with everything that's now the preseason over, the 53-man roster has been solidified now. We're now in this waiting period until next week, where the Ravens play the Chiefs in the opening game for Thursday Night Football to start the NFL season. First four games are away at Chiefs, home against the Raiders, away at the Cowboys, home against the Bills. First 4 games. After what we've seen, what we've heard about the offensive line, what we're looking at with the lack of run defense from the defensive line, but seeing how well the secondary looks, especially with Wiggins out there having another solid cover corner, we've seen it looks like either through practice and in preseason, and Marlon Humphrey appears to be playing maybe some of his best football. It looks like he's getting ready to play some of his best football since his Pro Bowl year in 2019. Adding another Trenton Simpson to the fold, where another great cover linebacker, but also linebacker can play to run. Lamar losing weight. You get finding an elite running back in the backfield now. You get another year of Zay. Bateman had one of his better camps apparently this offseason, so maybe an emergence from him, and so the emergence of maybe the tandem of Andrews and Likely. Has the outlook changed as far as what we said earlier? Like, I think I expected this team to make the playoffs. I think especially when the division. I don't think I had them getting to the Super Bowl, but I think I'm going to keep that right now, just because again it's a wait and see. I think we have to. The guys do look antsy. Lamar, when they showed him on the camera, just looked like he just wanted to be. He was ready to put a helmet on. Sometimes I felt like Lamar was ready to just get his helmet and go out there and like take somebody's jersey. I don't get matter whose name was on it. He was ready to just go out there and go play. So I think the guys are already amped up, especially with this opening week, this game against the Chiefs, to not necessarily was exercise some demons here, but just to get it, if they can go ahead and beat the Chiefs in week 1 and kind of get that, we can beat these guys. These guys aren't unbeatable. These guys aren't, invincible. These guys are going for a three-peat, which hadn't been done before, and I think they have to have the mindset. It's either if they had to get through us to get there, plain and simple. So, what has your outlook changed, or has it gotten? Have you maybe Super Bowl bound for this team?
Listen, I think I'll say this: we got to the AFC Championship last year. I do feel like we have a better team than last year. I'll say that. I do not think we've gotten any worse. I think we've gotten better with the addition of Derrick Henry. I think we've gotten better the fact that Kyle Hamilton has another year under his belt. BK has another year under his belt with the contract locked down. I think this team is going to do a good job at challenging itself to just go to new heights this season. I'm not saying that, we're going to go all the way to the Super Bowl without any trials and tribulations and things like that. But granted that this team stays healthy, it has a lot going for itself. I mean, BK himself, he finished off the year last year with what, 10, 11, 12. I can't remember how many sacks he had, but
13, didn't he?
He had like 13. Yeah, he had, well into the double digit sacks. And this year he's challenging himself to do better than that. I mean, he's not. No one's going to go back into the year saying that I want to try to do the same thing. So I won't be surprised if he becomes like even more of a breakout superstar after this year. I mean, he was a beast last year, but I think this year, they're going to be talking about him weekly, after every game. So, with that, a lot of optimism, like I said, with Kyle Hamilton. I just hope that he stays healthy throughout the year. We've gotten a couple of scares just through camp and stuff like that. But if Kyle Hamilton stays healthy, and he's going into his third year now, third season,
money time.
Yeah, like I said, we lost Patrick Queen, we lost Geno Stone, but I don't think those are significant losses. That I don't see a reason why we can't at least replicate what we did last season. But I think we've learned from last season, and I think honestly, not just with the athletes, and we had a decent draft, and all of the new guys that we brought in. Our coaches, I'm hoping that they learn from last season. I think our biggest hurdle is going to be ourselves when it comes to the coaching room. So, like I said, there's a lot to be excited about. We got, Zachary Orr is coming in. He's coming in with a completely different energy. Not that, our old defensive coordinator wasn't outstanding, because he was, but the fact that he's bringing in that new energy, we all know that players are going to respond to, especially ex-players, guys. He was right there, started his career in Baltimore, so they're looking at him a different way. So I'll say this: Marlon Humphrey, he looks like he's in album mode right now or something. Like, he got the hair going on, like he looked like he's out there, like he don't care. He's looking like something from the civil rights movement right now. Like, he's looking, I mean,
you got the Ed Reed hair. Now.
He looking like he's focused out there. So, like, even like guys that have been here, like we got the leadership on this team. with Roquan Smith and Marlon and those guys. But at the same time, we got that young energy still, and it's like a great combination of both. But we're like, I feel like our young guys on the team is like one of the most youngest, energetic but mature teams that we've had in a while. And I'm even throwing like Lamar in that, because Lamar's obviously taking more of a leadership role on this team as well. He's being vocal. But they're even saying he's being too vocal sometimes, and they're asking him to lay off a little bit. Like, come on, Lamar, like, but he's hungry. Like, and the next man he expects to be as hungry as he is. So yeah, just as far as just X's and O's, I'm just hoping that our coaches get it together this year and kind of maintain that balance. Like you said, if we're not 60-40 run past, then maybe this year will be a little bit more balanced, 50-50 or whatever the case may be, whatever the situation calls for. But we just need to make sure that the game, like that Chiefs game last AFC Championship, is something that just never happens again. And I think, like I said, with just the addition of Derrick Henry alone, I think we're that much more greater as a team. I don't see any reason or any team out there that really could stop us except for ourselves. I felt like that last season, and I feel like that again this season. So it just, like you said, we have to wait and see. But my outlook personally is a positive one. I have a positive outlook on the team going forward. I think we're going to do big things. I think, it's make or break for some of our guys on our team. Rashad Bateman, it's listen, we got a wide receiver room who, they're looking pretty good. They're looking pretty good. And Rashad Bateman, he's not leading that room right now, but he has an opportunity to show us something different this season. So just with all of the opportunities that's presenting themselves, we're not going to get all the answers in 1 week, especially not on week 1 of the NFL season. But I do have confidence in this team. I do positively look at what they can be, and hopefully we get to that point sooner than later throughout the year. So I feel good. I'll just say I feel good. There's obviously some question marks. We've discussed them, but I think overall, Lamar is going to be a better quarterback. Everybody else is going to be a better player as a result of it.
Yeah, this team is a Super Bowl contender. They are. The talent is there. I think we are set up to be able to play in the playoffs now with Derrick Henry, and utilizing him is going to allow us to be successful in a lot of tight games. I think our criticism is like we used to let teams come back in the fourth quarter. We didn't give people the ball, or we took our foot off the gas brake. And Gus over recent years wasn't that cowbell that he used to be. But we got Derrick Henry. That's a guy that will not only be the guy that can give you that 7 to 8 minute drive, but he's also a guy that's going to punch it in the end zone and make big plays. So and he'll do it not only running the ball, but catching the ball, throwing the ball. I mean, the guy can do a lot. So I think we're in a great position. Like you said, Trey, I think we've gotten better. I mean, would you take Eddie Jackson or Geno Stone?
Or Eddie Jackson.
Exactly.
Just
you
the
take
experience.
J.K. If I put J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards together, am I going to take them or am I going to take Derrick Henry? I'm going with Derrick Henry. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, based upon the pup list, I'll take Tylan Wallace over OBJ. So, I mean, I think we're better as a team. And I think we have a stud at corner that just gets me so excited. That guy Wiggins.
Mm-hmm.
I was looking back at film, and that Sauce Gardner? No, it's my man Wiggins, bro. So, I'm really excited about this team. But when we're talking about outlook, I don't care what happens in this first game, because this is our first game with everybody out there. We rested Lamar because we were trying to get this offensive line together. We didn't want to risk it. So I want to see us just play hard. Win or lose, I want to see us play hard this first game. Mm-hmm. But I think for the season, Our success, no matter what the record is going to come down to John Harbaugh. He is our Achilles heel with this team. He is the kryptonite of this team. It's going to come down to, are you going to be standing on the sideline, not making adjustments, not commanding your team, doing stupid challenges, stupid timeout, standing there with the dumb look on your face? That's going to come down to John Harbaugh and how he manages the game. And that's been a weak point for us for some years now. It's been about 8 or 9 years of us complaining about this. You know, Lamar saved that man's job, but we've been complaining about the same thing for years without any improvement. Mm-hmm. So I think when you're coming back with another Super Bowl contending roster, you expect Super Bowl results. We can't keep trotting out an MVP, all-pro players, great young coaches, getting these results every year in the playoffs, and then coming back short. We go only as far as John Harbaugh limits us. If he doesn't limit us, we can win the Super Bowl. If he's our weak link, I don't know. But we go as far as John Harbaugh limits us. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of my outlook. But I'm excited for the season. The talent
we talk a lot about the players stepping up and making changes and bringing it into a different level for this season, considering what happened last year. But totally agree. Like John Harbaugh at this point, we criticize a lot, when quarterbacks don't win the Super Bowl, quarterbacks don't make it to the AFC Championship game or win this game and this many playoff victories. But a lot of the times the coaches don't get enough blame for what happened. They still, to this day, I've been watching these shows, are still baffled by the fact the Ravens only ran the ball 6 times in the AFC Championship game. They were one of the most dominant run team the entire season, and they ran the ball 6 times. In a game that, at most, I think they were down by 10 points. At most, during the entire game, they were down by 10 points. Yeah. With Zay dropping the ball, turning the ball over, fumbling at the line of scrimmage, at goal line and stuff like that. The Ravens could have easily won that game.
Still.
But it was a lot of when you look at how the defense played by letting Kelsey get 100 receiving yards. One thing you couldn't do was let Kelsey go off, and on offense, not sticking to your game plan. Like that was everybody, I think, noticed that while Lamar didn't have the greatest game, a lot of people gave Lamar a lot of bail because they were like, that looked like bad preparation by the coaching staff. Like it just came like y'all weren't ready for this game. Y'all weren't ready. Y'all were trying to come into this game trying to show something to the world or prove something to the world that you didn't have to prove. At the end of the day, I hope what Lamar realized and what Harbaugh realizes at this point, it doesn't matter when you get to the regular season, that's for all the stats and stuff. That's for all you want to get the awards, you want to get the pad, like the throwing the ball 350 yards each game and 4 touchdowns and stuff. That's for the regular season. When you get to the playoffs, it's just about winning. It doesn't matter how you win. It's just win. We look at how the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. Pat Mahomes didn't really throw the ball that great or even that often in that game. He made the plays he needed to. He actually made some plays with his feet in that game to win the football game, which he doesn't really do regularly. But they did what they needed to do to win the football game. Forget how pretty it looks. Go win the football game. That's what it's about this year for the Ravens. Go win the game. Forget about what Nick Wright and what Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith and whatever everybody else is going to say about how it looked. Are you playing the Super Bowl or not? That's all that matters. So, let's get to – I want to touch on this real quick. It's been on the news a lot lately, especially with Stephen A. bringing it up. Deion and the media, especially the local media in Colorado. So they're getting ready for the season, but apparently the school has banned a reporter in Denver from asking questions, even showing up, I think, at this point to press conferences for Deion because of the slanderous accusations he's made against Deion and his sons in his apparently his blogs and his posts. Apparently, he called Deion a false prophet. We all know Deion is a devout Christian. He wears it on his sleeve. He talks about it all the time. To call a Christian a false prophet is like one of That's that's something you don't do. And Shannon was on First Take and made a good point. He was like, look, you can talk about the team success. You can talk about how we've had all these transfers leave the school. We can talk about, we didn't have the best record last season. That's all fair game. But don't attack my sons on their personal stuff, because I think he reported on a bankruptcy thing that Shador had or Shiloh had that wasn't accurate. Then stuff about Deion that wasn't accurate. And I didn't like the fact that Stephen A. and a lot of these other media people immediately came to the defense of this guy. They said they don't know. Paul Feinbaum and all the rest of them came to this guy's defense saying, well, Deion needs to be more professional than that. And if somebody's attacking my character, I don't care what job you have or what you think your right is. Because I think the problem is that a lot of these journalists and a lot of these people that show up to these press conferences think that you are obligated either as coach or as player to answer their questions. And I love when Marshawn, when he was doing the Super Bowl run, said, I'm just here so I don't get fined. I'm not answering a question. I'm just here. I don't have to answer your question. I'm here, but I don't have to answer your question. And I think Deion was just like, look, it's not like he banned. It'd be one thing if he banned all the reporters. Like, no, I don't want any reporters in this press conference. I just want the cameras and a local official from like either the Big 12 or the Colorado University of Colorado here. While I'm talking, there are still other reporters, national and local, that are there asking questions about Deion. It was because this guy was attacking his family and his character is why he's gone. I just didn't appreciate Stephen A. and a lot of these other media people coming to the defense of this guy and saying, like, well, I haven't read any of his articles or his blogs or anything, but I just think that you got to give, Deion needs to be a little bit better about that. And look, I don't know if you guys watched, we've seen videos of Deion when he played with the Braves, and a guy made a comment about Deion, and Deion threw a bucket of water on him. Like, I don't know if you guys remember that he threw a bucket in the locker room. He said, I heard what you said about me. He threw a bucket of water on him. Look, let's be real. A lot of these guys are on TV and stuff, and they have this big microphone, and they're able to talk to the entire nation or whoever, and they feel like they can say stuff about people and players, and when they see them on the street, that they act like nothing's gonna happen to them. Like, you can't say, you can criticize people's game, and that's one thing. But when you start attacking people's character and stuff, and we know Deion and everything else, we just saw, I don't know if you guys saw, Deion had just set up accounts for several of the players on the team that do have little kids on the team, and set up accounts for them with a local bank to have something set up for them and they're going to have interest added to it, and they can have this fund for them that these kids will have when they get older. So things that he's doing like that, like, you don't see a lot of other programs doing stuff like that for their guys that have kids on the team. And you saw people complaining about, well, these guys shouldn't be, having babies when they're 18, 19 years old. It's college sports. It's life. It's life. Things happen. They're playing people that have kids at early ages. You still have to go get a job. You still have to go do this. And these guys are still chasing their dreams. And Deion realizes that, like, look, I understand you guys are 18, 19 years old, and you got a little one to take care of, and you're on this team. But I'm able to help you guys out, get you guys started. Because, look, some of these guys may not come from households where they have that resource. They can go to the local bank and have money. They can put $3,000 in there and go start up and stuff like that. So while they're on here blasting Deion about the fact that he's banning this reporter coming from there, it's only because he's protecting his peace. He's protecting his personal space. You can talk about the Colorado football program when you like, but don't automatically media people come to the defense of any of these journalists that are criticizing Deion or any player, for example, when it comes to personal stuff. Criticize the play all you want, but the personal stuff needs to stay out.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. And Deion Sanders, as a coach of Colorado now, he's not obviously your normal coach. Like, he has a little bit more power than most when it comes to stuff like that, because he also gets attacked more than most other coaches and whatever the case may be. So when it comes to giving your opinion and speaking your mind, I'm all for free speech and all of that stuff like that. But at the end of the day, when you make personal attacks and you're coming at my family and you're coming at me and it seems targeted, that's another thing. And I feel like I have the right to defend my peace and not allow you to come here anymore. I mean, if you're not treating anybody else like this, then why are you treating me like this? And we know the reason why that person is, but the fact of the matter that you think you just have the right to get away with it and nothing happens, I think that's ridiculous. That's some type of privilege that they shouldn't have. But we've seen this time and time again. We've seen it with Stephen A. Smith, and we've seen his treatment with Kyrie Irving, and the takes that he's had, the outlandish stuff that he said. In that case,
that man.
we've seen it happen with Skip Bayless and Terrell Owens. Like we've seen this happen time after time again, where yes, are you doing your job? Sure, but sometimes it gets on a personal level where it seems like you have some underlying issue with that particular person, and it beams like the sun. Like it's very obvious, like that you have a problem with this person. And I think when you come to that line, like I think that's when it's an issue. Like there is a line that needs to be drawn in the sand where you should not be crossing this line. And I think that the situation with the reporter with Deion has you just crossed the line, because now you can't run out of things. You literally can't find something different to talk about other than me and my family, whatever it may be. So yeah, I think it's just it's unfair for Deion to have to tolerate it, and it's unfair that the guy was even dishing it out in the first place. So I think he's exactly where he should be, which is banned from those press conferences, and he can continue writing whatever you want to write over there, but don't bring that over here in my house and in my facility and ask me some disrespectful questions. Like we just not going to do that. So yeah, I mean, Deion he's a celebrity football coach. He's gonna. You think he hasn't been asked disrespectful questions before in his career? I'm sure he's gotten that more times than he would have liked. But for him to ban somebody, he's just not doing it. He's just not abusing his power. For him to have done that after all he's been through, he's doing it for a solid reason. So all you trolls and everybody who's just doing stuff for click, for clouts, and all of that stuff, like, we know what your place is here, and Deion is just not letting that get to him, and that's his method of cleaning out the dirty laundry and moving on with his day and getting ready for his week 1 game. Then he got to do what he got to do. So, I respect it on his end and continue to support Deion and everything he has going on over there at that program and how he chooses to run things his way. A part of that contract is that he's able to run things the way he wants to run things. And if one of those reasons or one of those ways of running things means making sure that he's being respected at all times, so be it. I support that. So I don't have no issue with it. It's unfortunate that they, some of the media just thinks they have a license to be personal, a license to attack. And I get it. They support each other. It's kind of like the blue wall with police. Like journalists, they have this membership as well, where they just feel like, we have the right to do and say whatever we want. Not all of them, but some of them have this attitude and they just take it too far. In this case, that reporter took it too far and he had to get dealt with accordingly. So, like you said, Miles, I'm sure if that reporter comes up to Deion's face and one day in public and they see each other at the grocery store, I'm sure the energy will be way, 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 way different. And that's my issue, is that the energy was definitely not going to be the same. And you're going to be shown as the phony person you are. But, those situations don't happen enough where we have to meet. You have to go face to face with the person who's been talking crazy. So they just let them do it behind a pen. And it is what it is.
I had a lot to say regarding this topic, but Trey kind of beautifully said it all. So I'm about to just close my laptop, log off.
Nah, say what you gotta say. Because that topic pissed me off. It really did.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say this. It's because he's black. We just got a breaking news, so I guess we'll jump to that after this. But yeah, it's because he's black. It's because he's black. It's the same double standard we've been living through forever. You know what I mean? What's the guy's name? Josh McDaniels. All these white guys. White coaches can do and say what they want. They can act how they want. I mean, if we go back to Nick Saban and what's my girl's name? Maria. What's my girl's name on NBC? Maria Taylor. How he treated her, the meme, the quit asking. I mean, they can act and treat media with any type of respect as they want, but they're not going to get criticized. But if Deion Sanders, if Mike Tomlin, and if we even go to the players, the black players, if they do it, it's a problem. It's a big issue. It's a news story. There has to be action. There needs to be class. There needs to be some type of decorum. But white counterparts aren't held to that standard. So, I mean, it's a story as old as time. He's going to get criticized. Deion does not care. Deion is out to do the right thing and do what his vision is. And I support that fully. Unfortunate for this guy in the media, y'all just got to deal with it. We're not going to adhere to your standards of how we should act, what we should do, and how you want us to behave or carry ourselves or, set our own boundaries. We're not here to adhere to that. This is a new age. You got to get with it or get lost. Unfortunately, he's going to still get criticized, but if he doesn't care, oh well. If Deion doesn't care about getting criticized, that's more power to him because he needs to live and do as he sees fit and not adhere to these standards. So, it's unfortunate that, black men still have to deal with this. We still have to adhere to the Euro white centric, whatever standards that they want you to act and be. But it's just it's all asinine.
Yeah, and this is a power move. A lot of head coaches in any sport, basketball or football, isn't new. Nick Saban has done this at Alabama, where he's banned local reporters from being there at press conferences. They do it all the time. It's just because it's Deion, and they made all this huge news story. I'm like, okay, the man, he has reporters there that are asking questions about the team. They're still there. This guy want to attack his family, attack his kids. Nah, you don't attack. Attacking me is one thing. You attack my sons. No. Especially if it's not about their play. If you're insinuating that they're doing other stuff off the field, no, we ain't doing that. Mm-mm.
Right.
You ain't gonna drag their name through the mud, especially when you look at Shador is getting ready to go in the draft, next year. So no, you're not dragging his name through the mud, potentially making his draft stock go tank his draft stock. So no, we ain't doing that. But anyway. We did have breaking news here. Brandon Ayuk, after all that, whatever fiasco happened, something has happened. He is officially signed with the 49ers. Surprise. He stays in the Bay Area. They gave him $120 million, $76 million guaranteed. All that crying, complaining, and he's there. I imagine what that locker room is going to be like this week. Now Ayuk finally shows up when training camp is done, walking around on the sideline with his gear on, not doing anything. It's like, dude.
I wonder if he gets invited to George Kittle's birthday party next year. Probably not.
I doubt it at this point. So I guess this comes on the wake. Obviously, we heard CD Lamb got his money as well. He gets paid his money. I don't know if you guys saw. Apparently, Dak made a comment saying, they asked him, does this make it seem like you're gonna more likely to get an extension or not? He's like, it kind of says a lot about either it happening or not happening. And then Jerry Jones apparently came out and said Dak hasn't showed me anything to get to pay this amount of money. So the fiasco in Dallas continues to roll on. Yeah. So the Steelers named a quarterback. Russell Wilson's QB1.
Yeah,
he's QB1.
Can't wait.
But a lot of people, even on the shows and stuff, were just kind of like, yeah, like the attitude from Tomlin, it comes off as the leash that's going to be on Russell Wilson as far as like how long we're keeping him in there is very short. Like if they feel like he's not pushing the ball down the field, they'll bring Justin Fields in just because he is dynamic and he is able to make plays with his feet. The problem is with Justin Fields, he turns the ball over. That's the problem. They know Russell Wilson won't turn the ball over, but he's not necessarily going to make any splash plays. You look at the receiving core on the for Pittsburgh. You got Pickens. Who else? You don't really have anybody else. The run game is, right now. Jalen Warren's still dealing with a hamstring. Najee Harris is. They didn't pick up his 4th-year option, so he's probably going to be out of there after this year.
GG's.
Do you guys think now with the season starting? I'll say this. We'll go to a few topics here. About like what everybody's kind of been people are saying that hi Galileo, my son's watching the stream, I guess, on his tablet. He's mad I wouldn't say hi to it. So the Bears, right? I wanted to bring this up real quick. So the Bears, everybody's been saying the Bears are going to make the playoffs, right? Some people have said the Bears are going to win the division and make the Super Bowl. Okay. Mm-hmm. He was the number 1 pick. So I did some digging the other day and found what was the record of the last 10 quarterbacks that were drafted as number 1 picks. So this is I think going from most recent to oldest. Bryce Young, 2-15. Trevor Lawrence, 3-14. Joe Burrow, 4-11. Kyler Murray, 5-10-1. Baker Mayfield, 7-8-1. Jared Goff, 4-12. Jameis Winston, 6-10. Andrew Luck, 11-5. Cam Newton, 6-10. Sam Bradford, 7-9. So I understand that Caleb is projected to be one of the best prospects at quarterback you've seen in a long time. They said the same thing about Trevor. They said the same thing about Baker. They said the same thing about a lot of guys. I'm not saying it's impossible, but based on the last 10 drafts where a quarterback has gone in the first pick, they usually have a losing record. They've added a lot around him. Can Keenan Allen stay healthy for a whole season? I don't know. They've added a lot on the offense. The defense is still pretty solid. However, they're still playing probably one of the toughest divisions in football. You still got the Packers there. The Lions, who were literally a couple plays away from going to the Super Bowl. They got better. Each of them got better in the offseason. Mm-hmm. I'm going to say this right now. I don't think the Bears make the playoffs. I think they're competitive. I definitely think they're more competitive than they were last year. But to make the jump that they had from last season to all of a sudden win the division and possibly even go to the NFC Championship game, not in 1 year. Mm-hmm. Not 1 year. Andrew Luck, again, he was one of those guys that proved that he was that guy. He retired, I think, a little too early, but he had a lot of severe injuries and stuff early on in his career that forced him to retire. Is he another Andrew Luck? I don't know. But I think there's a lot of hope, a lot of hype coming around from Chicago. But I just think if he was playing the NFC South, sure. Mm-hmm. Maybe in the AFC East at this point, sure. But with the teams that are in the NFC North right now, with where they're projected to be, with the Packers getting better, with the Detroit Lions getting better, I just don't think this year is going to be that year where they make that leap. Not saying it can't happen, but I think a lot has to go right for them for it to happen.
Yeah. I think I definitely agree with that. Not really a shot at Chicago. I just think that because I definitely do think they're a better team this year than they are last year for sure. But I don't think that's something they can get done in a year. I think, the hype around, and the momentum that Detroit has, just the previous couple of seasons and how good they've looked, I don't think Chicago is going to look better than that in year one. Now, if they finish the season with a winning record and they were, competitive throughout, I'll take that argument next season because we just never know what will happen. But right now, I don't think Detroit has gotten too much worse, and the Packers are really excited about what they got going on over there. They just paid Jordan Love and everything like that. So, like you said, they're going to have some real big competition over there. And I just don't think that one season under Caleb's going to get it done. But I do think they'll feel good. I think they'll feel good at the end of the season with the team that they have going forward into the future. But I think, in one season, I just don't see them lining up with Detroit or Green Bay the way that they think they might. Maybe they'll have better competition with with Green Bay that might give them a shot, but I still think that that's a little bit far fetched for the first season.
Yeah, I think they'll be a competitive team. I mean, they put a lot around them, and who knows? Maybe this is the anomaly, and they end up being better than what we think. But I think Caleb Williams is supposed to be this game-changing Peyton Manning type quarterback. Peyton Manning struggled. All rookie quarterbacks struggle in some form or fashion. I see him at best being how many games we play now? What, 7-10 team? I think that's the ceiling for them. I think they'll be competitive. I think they'll be fun to watch. I think they'll be explosive offensively. But I think you're asking a lot on a quarterback to come into this league, making all these adjustments. I think you're in a division that's super competitive. You have two teams coming off the playoffs, two teams that could be Super Bowl contenders in your division with the Green Bay Packers and the Detroit Lions. It's asking a lot. Asking a lot to have a winning record. So I say at best they're like a 7-10 team. I just think they'll be fun to watch. Really explosive. Caleb Williams will be challenging for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Same with the Dunze. I think DJ Moore is going to do what DJ Moore does. I think they'll be interesting. I think they're about 2-3 years removed. 2-3 years away from being a special team.
Next one, CJ Stroud. I saw a lot of people listing the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, and he made the list as like top 5 right now. I'm going to say he's not elite yet. He's had one good season. I think if he does it again this year, then sure. I mean, he had a magical rookie season last year. I mean, crazy year last year. Can he do it again this year? We've seen the sophomore slumps happen before. This Texans team is special. They have a really good defense. They added some pieces on offense this offseason. Do you think that CJ Stroud kind of starts putting himself into that elite tier this season? Do you think he puts another year like he did last year together?
Yes. The answer to the question is yes. I'm scared to death of CJ Stroud. I mean, just as far as just being in our way to going to where we're trying to go. CJ Stroud, for one, not only did he put on like a masterful rookie season last year, he put on an MVP season last year. Let's just keep it a buck. I mean, he got injured for a few weeks, and that might have knocked him out of the race. But before he got knocked out due to injury, he was well on his way to clipping that MVP award. He also had to deal with, Tank Dell going down in a crucial moment in the season, and he's getting him back. So once again, it's a team who also added Stephon Diggs to this team. Mm-hmm. They gave him more weapons than what he had before. Like this team is going to be even better than they were last season in terms of talent. And the biggest thing that I feel like CJ has going for him is that he's a part of like the perfect organization right now. I mean, with DeMeco Ryans over there, just being a part of just a great leadership, great staff. I just think he's in great hands, honestly. And CJ Stroud, if he played for another organization, then I might not be as optimistic. But Texans are heating up at the perfect time with him coming into the league. And he couldn't have landed in a better situation than what he landed, honestly. And the fact that he looked that good last year, there's literally no reason for them not to look at least that good this year. So once again, I think out of the entire NFL, yes, Patrick Mahomes he's Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes, the Chiefs, they're going to be obviously, they're on our hit list. Like that's the team that if we run into, we may or may not have issues. I feel like that with the Texans as well. Not that we couldn't go through and handle business against these teams, but these are teams that it will be a long day that we will go against. So I'm not mad at people saying that he's elite already. I know it's only been 1 year, but it's not like he showed me anything last season to show me that this was a fluke. Like I saw those games and he looked phenomenal in most of them. And just the number of yards he was putting up per week, just to come in as a rookie, that's just something that's not a normal thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not scared to say that he's, a top 5 QB. He's definitely a top 5 QB. If you want to have the elite conversation, I don't know what the criteria, if it needs to be at least a couple seasons under your belt for me to give you that, then I'll give you that. But he sure is playing like an elite QB, and there's no signs of him looking any worse next season, in my opinion. I think he's kind of beyond his years. Even though he was a rookie last year, he was beyond his years. Like, the guy's super smart. He got a cannon, and he's just a very accurate quarterback, and he looks great in that offense that they have him running. So, yeah, I think he's elite level talent, and maybe after the season, we'll learn some more. But yeah.
Would y'all kill me if I said they are our biggest threat to a Super Bowl? Would y'all kill me for that?
No,
that's basically what I said. That's basically what I said in the beginning.
Yeah.
I said they're the ones I'm scared of.
That defense they got is pretty good. They got another year, and they're young too. Like, they're young. They have a good young defense, and they're bringing wide receiver talent and Stephon Diggs to help with Tank Dell and the rest of those guys like that. And Nico Collins, like it's
phenomenal coaching. Yeah. Phenomenal coaching over there.
And they were scary before Stephon Diggs.
Yeah,
that's my point.
Before, like,
crazy.
I think everything Trey said, I'm just going to co-sign. CJ Stroud is an MVP candidate. Defense is getting better. They're talented. They got the offensive talent. They are scary. I was at the gym today working out. I was rewatching Ohio State and Georgia, CJ Stroud's last year in college. Man, I don't know how I didn't see this coming. I mean, he looked masterful in that game against that elite level talent. I mean, this kid has every tool you could ask for. I don't see a major weakness except inexperience.
Yeah.
So they're scary. They're scary, and I think he can take them very far. And I think, I think they're our biggest threat. I'm not as big on Kansas City as I probably should be, but I think the Texans definitely are our biggest threat.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that I'm going to hold elite level status for him until he does it again this season. But with all things considered, because of how poised he is, especially what he saw last year, even in that Ravens game, the first half, I mean, they were it was a tie going into halftime. It wasn't until the Ravens finally let Lamar Jackson loose that they finally won the football game. But we know that had it been a couple plays here and there, the Texans could easily won that football game and gone to the AFC Championship game. So, I think I'd like saw that last season. I think that one game where he threw, what was it, like 450 yards and like 5 touchdowns, I think, in one game. And it was just like, that guy's legit. That guy's legit. So with all the hype they give around Justin Herbert, all the hype they give around Trevor Lawrence and Josh Allen and all the rest of them, like, CJ has put up the numbers. He's put up the numbers. I think if he does it again, and like you guys say, and they're well coached. Like, I like DeMeco Ryans as the head coach there. I think he's gonna doing a phenomenal job there with the culture he's built in Houston and everything else. So I think that it's gonna be a team to watch out for going forward. It's kind of back to where their old days when they with JJ Watt and Andre Johnson and Arian Foster and all. Like, it's going back to those days when they were actually like a playoff caliber team. So before we get out of here, before the Ravens, start the season, they have a lot of heavy hearts going into the season this year. With first we lost Jacoby Jones in April, and then we lost Coach Joe D. Most recently. He had an acute disease, and he left the team, and I think within about a week or two, he was gone. So he was a big part of this team as a coach. Loved by everybody. Everybody said there's not anyone that would say a bad word about him. He's as much as a Raven as many as there are coaches on this team. We've had a few of them that have passed on that have coached this team. He's going to be very definitely missed. with the masterful job that he's been able to do over the years, especially last season, been able to rework that line with everything that was going on with Ronnie Stanley and Moses and the interior and everything else. Him and they've just kind of just work it the way they needed to even get to the AFC Championship game with everything that was going on. Did a phenomenal job, so he will be sorely missed in that locker room. And I would imagine the Ravens will be wearing probably a 12 number and maybe a Coach Joe D patch either on the helmets or on the jerseys as well. So they got a lot to play for. The Ravens got a lot to play for going into this season, a lot to get going. There's legacy here. There's legacy for Lamar, on the table. Legacy for John Harbaugh. Can you finally put yourself into that that level of coach like the Joe Walsh, the Bill Walshes, and the Jimmy Johnsons and all the rest of them? Can you go win another Super Bowl? I think winning a second Super Bowl with him would put him in a different era, a rare era with coaches that are in the Hall of Fame for winning Super Bowl. So there's a lot of legacy building, I think, this season, and a lot of guys looking to put their stamp on not just the Ravens and the NFL, but history here. So that's it for us for this show. Next week when we do our show, we'll be covering next week will be Thursday, so I guess we maybe have to do a show on Wednesday night preview before the game starts on Thursday. So we watch the game for the Chiefs and get this season going. So thank you again for watching for the Purple Friday show. We'll catch you guys next week for finally football's here. So everybody happy football, and we'll have a good season. All right, peace.